Assassin's Creed? More like Ass Creed. Hey everyone. Sorry if I sound a bit different. I'm a little sick.
Your cold makes your voice higher pitched?
Thankfully, I got tomato soup cooking in the microwave. Don't worry. I made sure to put a metal spoon in the bowl for extra heating. In the meantime, let me tell you about my two favorite things. Assassin's Creed and ranking things from worst to best. Assassin's Creed. Ubisoft's flagship title and the reason why wearing a hoodie will make you 10% more attractive to the ladies. Back when it was a yearly release, I was excited for each new entry in the franchise. Even today, despite feeling jaded towards the gaming industry, I still get excited whenever a new game is announced, only for the game to be... alright. Yeah, if I'm being honest. As popular as the games are, unfortunately, they're Ubisoft's games, which are well known for never going beyond just being an open world game. Not bad games, mind you, but just serviceable enough to be entertaining. And for a series that has gone on for 15 years, that's both commendable and frustrating. Now, you may think that like any other YouTuber, I'm going to be ranking the games from worst to best, because how else will I be able to get YouTube's algorithm to notice me? Instead, I'm going to do something that no one has done before. I'm going to rank every intro in Assassin's Creed history. Just like how every game needs a good ending to leave the player feeling satisfied, a good intro has to make the player excited for the game that they're about to play. Even if the rest of the game is complete dog shit, a Shakespearean level intro can make the player stay to the end. Now, a few stipulations before I get into the rankings. 1. When I say intros, I mean from when the player press start to when the title card shows up in the game. 2. All the footage will be from different gameplay channels, which I will credit. 3. I will only be discussing the mainline games, just for time's sake, so no DLCs and none of the side games. 4. None of the placements are what I feel about the games in general. Just because a game has a bad intro doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad game. 5. This is my opinion. It's what I feel, so don't go and complain to me about this game is lower than this game. Do you think I care? I mean, I kind of do. That's why I'm making this list, but that's beside the point. And 6, my wife cheated on me with her yoga instructor, and now she's filing for divorce and wants full custody of the house. Please like, comment, and subscribe so I won't be homeless tonight. Assassin's Creed 1 intro is weird, as it isn't really an intro in the traditional sense. There is no title card, saved only for the trailer, and unlike other games in the franchise, some of the cutscenes are filmed with a stationary camera instead of being cinematic. In the intro, we are introduced to Desmond Miles, a bartender from New York who was kidnapped by a company called Arcticavt. He is forced to go into a machine called the Animus, which lets him relive the memory of his ancestors. Once in the machine, we are then introduced to said ancestor, Altair, an arrogant assassin who is tasked with retrieving an item called the Apple of Eden. Unfortunately, he fails in the most spectacular way, as he kills an innocent civilian and loudly reveals himself to the enemy faction, known as the Templars, causing them to attack the town near the assassin's HQ. Luckily, Altair is able to save the day by dropping some logs onto the attacking Templars. Unluckily for him, that's the least of his problems. Fed up with his foolishness, the head admin of the Assassin's Order strips Altair's mod status and demotes him from a tier 3 Twitch sub to a first-time chatter. Now, on the surface, it may seem like a decent intro, and it is, but yet, why did I rank it so low? Because it's boring! I think the camera work kills the intro for me. It takes me out of the game and honestly, makes the cutscenes uninteresting to watch. I will give it a bit of a grace though, as this was the first Assassin's Creed game ever released and the series was trying to find its identity. But even so, it's the least exciting intro to me, so it gets last place. Assassin's Creed Syndicate is a game, and the intro is an intro. It sure is. Aside from confirming my fears that London is an actual place and not something parents made up in order to scare their kids into behaving, Syndicate is my second least favorite game in the franchise by far. This is the safest Assassin's Creed game, as it is the last to have the classic gameplay before the game switched up to the RPGs. The intro is as basic as you can get, with the game introducing our main character Jacob and Evie Fry, a set of twins with quirky personalities. Jacob is the quippy, reckless assassin who always gets himself into dangerous situations, while Sister Evie is a calm and smart assassin who always gotta clean up Jacob's mess. They're both tasked with assassinating a couple of Templars in order to liberate London. Jacob kills an evil factory worker who employs children to child labor law not being a thing. Unlike me, who employs my own 100 children to work in the coal mines.
Daddy, I have tuberculosis.
That's nice, sweetie. Just take some medicine and lie down for a bit, okay?
Okay.
Meanwhile, Evie kills a mad scientist who was experimenting on a piece of Eden. These are objects of power that were used by an ancient civilization many millennia ago, called the Isu. After killing both targets, the tween meet up and set out to liberate London. But their mentor doesn't want them to, because it's too great of a task to handle. But we all know that's not gonna stop our plucky protagonists as they ignore their mentor and hop onto the train to London. Meanwhile, in the modern day plot, the assassins are looking for a MacGuffin. That's it. The main issue I have with this intro is that it plays too safe. You already know what Jacob and Evie are about as soon as you're introduced to them. The Templars are just straight up evil in this game with nothing interesting going for them. And the plot is as bland as ever, with nothing that will get the player to stay until the end. Hell, at least in AC1 it had an intriguing setup with Desmond, and it at least hooked the player to completing Altair's journey of redemption. Which begs the question of why I put this intro above AC1. That's because Syndicate doesn't have a stationary camera for the cutscenes, thus making the intro slightly less boring. That's it. Moving on! AC Valhalla is a game, but with Vikings! Ah yes, my least favorite Assassin's Creed game, mainly due to how overbloated and uninteresting this game is. The open world is a drag to get through, the story is bland, characters are bland, gameplay is actually pretty decent as the combat is pretty fun, but everything else is bland. Eivor is a Viking child, living the Viking life, until one day her home village is attacked by a rival clan. While running through the village, she witnesses the death of her parents. Because Ubisoft would prefer to give their protagonists the same tragic backstories than writing anything new or interesting. Years later, Eivor, now all grown up, hunts down Kjodve the Cruel, the leader of the rival clan and the man who killed her parents. All the while, Eivor's clan brother, Sigurd, arrives from Norway with a couple of members from the Assassin's Brotherhood, who just so happens to be on a mission to assassinate Kjodve. With the help of her clan and the assassins, Eivor leads an all-out assault and kills Kjodve, finally avenging her parents. Soon after, King Harald of Norway calls in all the clans of the land to unite under his banner. All the Viking leaders do so, including Sigurd's father, which upsets Sigurd, as he thinks bowing to a monarchy is cringe. Feeling betrayed by his father's action, Sigurd decides to sail off with his own clan, with Eivor tagging along, because she's ride or die like that. Now, what I just explained to you is about 2 to 5 hours of gameplay depending on how much of the side content you do in the starting area. And it might not seem like much. That is, until you see that the game takes on average 60 fucking hours to complete the main story! And if you want to complete the game 100%, you're looking at 40 plus more hours to complete, so a total of 100 hours! Now, the main problem I have with this intro is that it just feels like it's just going through the motions of being an Assassin's Creed game, like the death of Eivor's family. I guess traveling around the beginning map is fun for a while, especially when you're finding new equipment and side quests, but unfortunately, with it being an Ubisoft game, it's just map filler, with you doing the same type of activities over and over and over again. While the combat is fun, everything else is just boring. In fact, the more I talk about this game, the more I wanna go to sleep. Huh? What happened? Oh, yeah, the ranking. Assassin's Creed Rogue is pretty cool. The base premise of this game is that you are an assassin who betrays the Creed and becomes a Templar. This was in the midst of when Assassin's Creed was trying to find their footing after the Ezio trilogy concluded. It stumbled when AC3 released, gained some momentum with Black Flag, and then fell flat on its face with Unity. But I personally think that Rogue was a step in the right direction, despite it being just Black Flag with the map of AC3. In In the intro, we are introduced to Shay Cormac, an assassin who is out hunting with his friend Liam. They're tagging along with their mentor who is meeting with some smugglers, but unfortunately, something goes wrong. Cannons are fired off and Shay and Liam rush back to their mentor who reprimands them for being late. Their tardiness led to the smugglers getting captured by the British, which is a fate worse than death. After a bit of good old fisticuff, the three assassins quickly save the smugglers, and in the process, Shay gets his very own ship. The intro is alright. Nothing much to say about this really. It gets the job done decently and quickly, seeing as it's only 10 minutes long unlike Valhalla. Shay is a pretty decent character and it gets you hooked into seeing how he'll betray the assassins later on. So yeah, pretty decent intro for a pretty decent game. Next!
You puny feather fat nerd of computer, jerking up the games, giving themselves first-person shooters!
Assassin's Creed Odyssey, or as I like to call it, we want to be Witcher 3. Can you tell we want to be the Witcher 3? Please, God, we want to be the Witcher 3. Being the second game in the RPG saga, Odyssey is pretty ambitious for what it is. The story is far from being anything Assassin's Creed related, except for the enemy faction and a few story elements that try to connect it back to the series. The gameplay is filled with tons of side activities to do, and there's a big emphasis on exploration. You have mission objectives tracked down based on hints that the mission descriptions gives you. It does unfortunately become pretty overwhelming, which can be a detriment to how the story is told. But overall, it's not that bad. In our introduction, we are met with King Leonidas and his 300 Spartans in their infamous battle, the Battle of Thermopylae. After an admittedly badass scene, we're introduced, or I guess at this point of the game, reintroduced, to Layla, an assassin on the quest to find the Staff of Hermes. This is a staff that grants the user immortality as long as they hold it in their hands. After selecting our difficulty and main protagonist, which is Cassandra by the way, we were then transported to ancient Greece into our main My apologies for that. Our main mommy protagonist, mommy. I want her to wrap me in her arms and hold me. Protagonist Cassandra, who is chilling out in her home until a couple of thugs show up to shake her down for their boss, the Cyclops. After beating the thugs, she then goes over to her boss, Marcos, who has a vineyard set up. Despite not knowing how to run a vineyard, well, as it turns out, he actually bought it from the Cyclops, and now has a ton of debt to pay. But Marcos, basically being Mr. Krabs, thinks that paying people is cringe, and tasks Cassandra to steal the Cyclops' eye. After stealing the eye, Cassandra finds a group of bandits from out of town. After taking care of them, Cassandra meets the man who hired the bandit, Elpenor. Surprisingly, Elpenor knows about Cassandra and gives her a task to assassinate a Spartan general known as the Wolf of Sparta, who is in the land of Megaris. Knowing that she'll need a boat to reach Megaris, Cassandra confronts the Cyclops and kills him, which not only gains her his boat, but also gains a ship captain named Barnabas. Now, with the ship at her disposal, Cassandra sets sail to mainland Greece to assassinate the Wolf of Sparta, but she isn't happy about it, as earlier flashbacks reveal that the Wolf of Sparta is also her father. Now, aside from fawning over what is essentially the equivalent to an Amazonian goddess, I think this intro is pretty great at setting the stage for the game. I think Cassandra is a really fun character, and set up to what will be the main plot is intriguing. However, it is hindered by the same problem I have with Valhalla, which is having too many side activities. It hinders the game so much and makes what could have been a pretty great open world RPG a slog to go through. But at the very least, we have a hot muscle lady.
Hang the black flag at the end of the mast! You are a pirate!
Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. My personal favorite AC game of all time. I love just about everything about it. From the story of Edward Kenway, a pirate who wants to build a pirate utopia by trying to get rich and avoid the Assassin-Templar conflict. Unfortunately, he later realizes that in order to have his utopia, he must get involved in it, as it's the only way to gain true freedom for himself and his friend. The gameplay perfectly captures the thrill of being a pirate of the Seven Seas. Everything about this game is perfect, except for the intro. The game starts out with Edward in the middle of a fierce and ferocious battle. Everything seems to be going well until an assassin boards the ship and starts killing the crew. Luckily, or unluckily, depending on your perspective, the ship blows up, knocking Edward out. We then flash back to Edward and his wife Caroline. Here, Edward expresses his desire to sail the world and make a fortune for him and his wife. After that lovely scene, Edward wakes up and swims to the nearest shore. Surprisingly, the assassin also washes ashore with him and runs away, but not before trying to bribe Edward. Catching up to the assassin, Edward makes quick work of him and discovers that the assassins tried to betray the Creed by handing off his mysterious piece of glass to the Templar, for which he would be rewarded greatly. Luckily for Edward, the Templars won't know what the assassins look like, and dons the assassin costumes before trying to find a way off the island. Thankfully, Edward stumbles across a merchant named Bonnet, who is trying to live the pirate life. After the two escapes the island with Bonnet's ship, we are then transported to the modern day? This kicks off the modern day plot, where we are seemingly an intern at Abstergo who is researching Edward's memory for their new game. But in actuality, it's so the Templar could find the next piece of Eden. After getting the rundown at Abstergo, we are then shown the title card. Yeah, this intro is disappointing, mainly because of the title card. You see, AC title cards show at the height of the intrigue, and right when the game gets you hooked. It's supposed to make you excited for the adventure to come, but here, it only makes me stare blankly at the screen and go, okay. And it sucks, as there was a better scene to show the title card. Right when you escape prison and get the Jackdaw. It's a perfect way to end the first act, as well as a perfect way to get the players hyped. Oh well. At least it won't be as disappointing as the remake.
Chicken nugget, biscuit nugget, and a biscuit nugget, biscuit nugget, and a biscuit.
Ah yes, Assassin's Creed Revelation, the finale of the Ezio trilogy. The game that upon release was considered a disappointment due to it not being as good as Brotherhood or 2, but is now praised for not being the later AC games. For me personally, it's a pretty decent game, all things considered. The story is alright, with the most notable moment being the ending and the Altair missions. The gameplay, well, it's just AC Brotherhood with a few added mechanics, like Hook Blade and Tower Defense missions, but the intro. Woohoo! For the intro, we find Desmond Miles waking up in the Animus as he is in a coma due to the event of the last game. Here, he meets Subject 16, an assassin who spent a lot of time in the Animus, which drove him crazy. Here, he tells Desmond that in order to get out of here, he must relive the rest of Ezio's memory. It is then that, I shit you not, the E3 trailer of this game starts to play, albeit with some differences. For example, Ezio having a voiceover,
Claudia, my dearest sister. I have been in Acre a week now, safe and in high spirits.
and an extended scene of Ezio escaping the cape-clad bald guy who sentenced him to die. Now, if that last sentence sounded a bit familiar to you, that's because that was a reference to the Assassin's Creed Revelation literal trailer made by Toby Turner, aka Tobuscus. And because of that, I cannot take the scene seriously without thinking of that godforsaken video. Tobuscus was my childhood and became the main inspiration for my humor. Do you know how many times I've said shit like "not at the bird and people die," as well as saying that cashew comes from a fruit? One of his songs is an activation code that will make me overthrow the government. We will find it. Unfortunately, Tobuscus was accused of being abusive by an ex as well as having a drug problem, so he sadly faded away from the spotlight only to reappear again when he had that crash out on Twitter. So, yeah. I actually don't know how to end this segment. Can we just get to the next one?
Many years ago, I took my finger and I pushed in my penis, and it hasn't come out since.
Assassin's Creed Mirage, also known as Mirage. AC Mirage was the game that was supposed to bridge the gap between the RPG games and the current games by being a weird mix of classic AC and RPG AC. Now, how is it weird, you may ask? Well, in this game, they took the mechanics of the RPGs and took away the leveling system. And that's it. Yeah, this game was a weird game to play, but not weirder than its intro. In it, we are introduced to Basim, the assassin from Valhalla, in which he tells his origin story, starting with him being a common street thief who, just like Aladdin, wants more from life. But unlike Aladdin, he's been having nightmares of a genie trying to kill him. Luckily, he has his best friend Nahal to comfort him. One day, Basim meets an assassin named Roshan, who denies his request to join the Creed on account of him begging like a little bitch. Not willing to give up, Basim decides to steal a chest that the Creed has been trying to get a hold of in hopes to impress Roshan enough that she'll let him join. With his friend Nahal at his side, Basim infiltrates the palace to get the chest, but is unfortunately caught by the Caliph. Fortunately though, Nahal is ride or die and kills the Caliph. Phew! Thankfully that's taken care of. Now, to just sleep it off and hopefully nothing of consequence will happen. Oh my fucking god. The guards just killed everyone. Oh my god. Well, I guess there is nothing to do now but to leave Baghdad. But not before Basim breaks up with his best friend and gets saved by Roshan, who decides to initiate him into the Assassin Order. Now, what I like about this intro is that it brings familiarity by actually having assassins in an Assassin's Creed game. After so many years, and 2 games without them, it feels so good to be an assassin again. They finally also made the map an actual city that you can explore, and not just wide open plains and mountains. Unfortunately, in terms of gameplay, as much as I miss going back to basics, Mirage didn't really grip me as much as I wanted to. Frankly, at this point, the Assassin's Creed games weren't all that exciting to me anymore. Between every release, I found myself playing way better open world game like Cyberpunk and Red Dead 2, but still on its own, Mirage is really good. Shout out to whoever made the title card fading in and out like a mirage. I hope you were paid well.
Samurai fool!
Yeah?
Assassin's Creed Shadows. Assassin's Creed Shadows. Assassin's Creed Shadows is the latest game to have come out from the series, and by God is it the most infamous. When the game was announced, it was revealed that the game will not only feature an assassin in feudal Japan, but also feature Yasuke, an actual historical figure who was notable for being a black samurai. Many people were excited upon hearing the news, but others, most notably right-wing grifters and anti-woke influencers, decided to take issues with it. It was quite mumbling at first until the reveal trailer came out, and then all hell broke loose. The quiet mumblings became full-on yelling as those anti-woke grifters were mad that not only were players going to be playing as a black man, but gasp! A woman? Every day closer to release, there was a new controversy about this game over the tiniest of things. It got so bad that Ubisoft had to make an official post telling people to calm the fuck down. But sadly, they didn't, as many of the devs were harassed due to their involvement in the game. And after all of that, what was the reception of the game? It was fine! It was okay! The story was alright, albeit forgettable, and the gameplay was good. All of that for fucking nothing! Anyways, the intro. The game starts with showing how Yasuke became Oda Nobunaga's samurai before showing Yasuke on the raid. After which, we were then shown our assassins for this game, Naoi, who is defending her home from Nobunaga alongside her father. During the battle, Naoi's father tells her to get a box from a hidden cave. Naoi retrieves the box, but is injured by a samurai who steals it from them. Wanting to get her revenge, as per the rules of the streets, Naoi leaves her healer, goes to where the samurai is at, kills him, and reclaims the box. However, while escaping the area, a group of masked ronin and samurai ambush Naoi and injure her again, but her dad comes in to rescue her. Sadly, Naoi is an Assassin's Creed protagonist, and as per the rule of being a main character, you must have your family die. Naoi's father is killed while Naoi is left for dead. So I like how the intro gets straight to the point. We're introduced to both protagonists, what their stories are, and how each of them will play going forward. What kind of kills it for me is 2 things. Firstly, the game relies on so many of the franchise cliches that you can literally predict what's going to happen upon each character introduction. And secondly, Naoi's English voice acting.
Stuart, what do we do? Nothing's broken. I can move. I can fight. Stuart, I'm coming!
Now look, no shade to her English voice actress, Masumi Tsunoda. From what I've seen, this is her first voice acting role, so she's probably not used to voice acting. Or maybe she was given bad direction by the voice director, but man, she sounds so unnatural. It's like they took the first takes from each line and put it in the game. She has no emotions, sounds very wooden, and at times resembles an AI version of her voice, which I'm hoping they didn't use. So overall, as decent as this intro is, it's the uncanniness of it that kills it for me. Wow, would you look at that? I actually made criticism about the game without having to resort to racism or sexism or calling the game woke. Because I have a brain unlike you fucking anti-woke assholes who ruin everything because you guys like to bitch and moan about shit that isn't even important. You pathetic excuses for gamers. I hope you fucking...
I made myself sicker by yelling too much. I'm just gonna move on if that's okay with you.
Bene, sottocorrente basta prosciutto.
Here we are, everyone! My top 5 intros of all time! These are what I refer to if someone were to ask me specifically if I have an intro in mind that best represents the Assassin's Creed series. You'd be surprised by how often I'm asked that. For my number 5 pick, I chose Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Considered to be the best Assassin's Creed game of all time, Brotherhood is a powerhouse in what it provides from the story, characters, gameplay. Okay, maybe not the gameplay, but the intro is pretty good. In this intro, we get a recap of the previous game and a flash forward of what's to come with Ezio in the middle of a battle hell-bent on killing this Templar. Already, we have intrigue on what's going on. Like, who is this man Ezio's trying to kill? Why does Ezio want to kill him? And is that a QTE? We are then placed right where Ezio's story in the previous game ended. After defeating the Pope in a fistfight, which is a sentence I hope makes a comeback in the future, Ezio enters a crypt and meets with Minerva, and Isu, who is there to give a message to Desmond in the modern day. This message is supposed to save the world, but all it accomplishes is making Ezio confused. After leaving the crypt and seeing that the Pope escaped, Ezio climbs out with the help of his uncle Mario and heads out to flee Rome. During their escape, Ezio pulls out the Apple of Eden and debates tossing it away to prevent anyone from getting it, but he is told by Mario to deal with it later before the two jump off the roof together, escaping Rome once and for all. Until 10 minutes later when Mario is killed and Ezio is brought back to Rome. What I love about this intro is that it automatically hooks you in at the start, leaving you with more questions than answers, while at the same time paying off the cliffhanger that was left at the previous game. My favorite part in all of this is Ezio's hesitation in tossing the apple, debating in his mind whether it should be thrown away in the hopes the Templars or civilians don't come across it, or just deciding to keep it and run the risk of the Templars attacking his home to get the apple. Which is what happens later on. I feel like this informs us that while Ezio has matured, he still has a bit of way to go before he becomes the master assassin we all know and love. Overall, it's a really good intro and shows that you don't need 5 hours to hook the player in Valhalla.
Return this land, or suffer my curse.
What's your offer?
Assassin's Creed Origins had a lot of eyes on it due to it being the first game in what we now know as a RPG saga. It was a big leap to take for the series, as they were mostly known as open-world action-adventure games. But now, in Origins, we slap a leveling system, add weapon stats and skills trees on there, and poof! Now it's an RPG! That'll be $60, please. In the end, I think it worked out really well. Unlike the other RPG games, Origins doesn't feel super bloated, nor feel super overwhelming to get through. Which is why I feel this is the best game in the RPG saga. Hell, the other games don't even have a badass intro like this one. In the Origins intro, we are introduced to Bayek and Medjay in ancient Egypt, which are basically just warriors who protect whatever pharaoh they're serving. We first see them overlooking a pharaoh who's riding through the village, until it cuts to 1 year later with Bayek seemingly on a revenge quest, confronting one of his targets. And let me say that words cannot describe how badass this cutscene is.
You see this? I can read my own name, Nat! We will find you. We will find you in your sleep! Sleep? I never sleep. I just wait in the shadows, and I will kill you all everyone who sniffed the air that day in Siwa!
Oh yeah, that's the good shit. Shout out to Bayek's voice actor, Abubakar Salim. He portrays being both a grieving father hellbent on revenge and a super chill dude who's always willing to lend a hand so well. We later find Bayek fighting against his target's protector in an admittedly pretty cool fight to the death. After beating his attacker, Bayek meets up with his friend who takes him back to his home village of Siwa, where he is told that one of his targets, the Ibis, has been ruling Siwa with an iron fist. After arriving and getting patched up, Bayek helps out the people of Siwa before confronting the Ibis. After assassinating him, we are taken to the iconic assassination void, in which Bayek confronts Ibis for oppressing the people of Siwa, but the Ibis thinks talking is cringe and brings up Bayek's dead son Kemu. Yep, you heard that right. Bayek's dead son. We are then shown a flashback in which during a day of bonding with his son, Bayek is taken hostage by a group of masked men who want to open up a vault by using an apple of Eden. Unfortunately, the men also kidnap Kemu and threaten to take his life if Bayek doesn't comply. Kemu escapes his bindings and frees Bayek, but sadly in the midst of fighting the masked men, one of them makes Bayek accidentally kill his son, leaving him with immense guilt. After the flashback, we return to the void with the Ibis making fun of Bayek and taunting him, but Bayek, being the badass that he is, ignores the taunts and beats the ever-loving shit out of the Ibis with an imaginary apple of Eden. Yeah, Bayek! Yeah, Bayek! Get his ass! Get his ass! Yeah! After killing the Ibis and drinking some beers with his best bud, as one would do, Bayek heads out to Alexandria to meet up with his wife Aya and kill the remaining masked men. Okay, if you can't already tell, I think this is the best intro we've gotten from the RPG saga. The game just puts you right into the action and immediately shows you what this game is about. I also believe this is an amazing introduction to Bayek and the type of person he is. In fact, he's my second favorite protagonist in the series, beaten out only by Ezio. That is how much I like Bayek. Plus, while he does fall under the classic assassin wants revenge for the death of a family member trope, it doesn't feel tiresome since this game lets you know who Bayek is and why he's doing what he's doing. So, to wrap this segment up, this intro makes me hard!
Ready? Man, I said present. Blood, are you dumb? Are you getting rude to man? That's what you get, fam.
Assassin's Creed 3, also known as the Black Sheep in the series, because it was released right off the heels of the Ezio trilogy. A lot of fans were excited and hopeful that the game could live up to the previous ones. Sadly, that didn't happen. The game was largely considered a disappointment due to the lackluster story, lackluster map, and lackluster character, but if I may confess something to you, I personally kinda like this game. Oh shit, not again! I think my feelings on this game may have been influenced by the fact that right around the game's release, I was learning about the American Revolution, so this game kept me hooked. Not only that, but the twist at the end of the prologue really intrigued me and got me excited to see what was next. Though, for some reason, every time I get to it, I'm always shocked. Anyways, in our intro, we get a recap of Desmond's life right before we see Desmond, his father and the assassin crew entering a cave that is supposed to help with preventing the end of the world. While exploring the caves, Desmond has a bleeding effect and passes out only to be saved by being put into the Animus. It is here where we are introduced to... Who the fuck is this old guy? Well, that is Haytham Kenway, the son of Edward Kenway. Here we see him infiltrating an opera to kill his target and retrieve a key that is supposed to open up a temple. Soon after, Haytham takes passage on the ship and makes his way to Boston to find the temple. And let me just say, Haytham is so damn cool! He's very charming and friendly to everyone as well as a badass when he needs to be. If I ever were to meet him, you bet your sweet bippity that I'll be sharing a cold one with him. Soon after an adventurous boat ride in which Haytham investigates a possible mutiny, but discovers that it was only a sailor who was trying to signal another ship to follow and kill him. Haytham soon arrives at the colonies to kickstart a new age for the franchise. Man, this is a sweet intro. Say what you want about the Colonial Saga, but I feel like this was a great introduction for not only the game, but the future of the series as a whole. Haytham has so much charisma to him, it's insane! While we do play as the super serious and Charles Lee-obsessed Connor later on, it is no wonder Haytham is such a beloved character in the community. In fact, I'm gonna play through the prologue and see what happens next.
2 hours later.
You are a Templar.
Wait, what? What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck?
Les poils étaient pignons, les vitons j'étais, et les jantons les oppas, les chichons l'étaient.
Assassin's Creed Unity. The game that came out with a lot of bugs, but surprisingly, still not as many as Asmongold. I think in the past couple of years, the reception in Unity has warmed up a bit, mainly due to it being used in the reconstruction of Notre Dame and having the best parkour system in the franchise. I mean, look at it! Look at it! Meanwhile, stuff like the story has been panned for starting out really good, then completely nosediving the second act, and that's mostly thanks to the intro. Arnaud Dorian is a typical French rich kid living out the typical French rich kid life. He has a father who loves him, a childhood friend. So far, everything seems to be perfect, which means that his dad is gonna get murdered, isn't he?
I'll fucking do it again.
Many years later, we meet up with an adult Arnaud who is quite the rapscallion, but a kind man at heart. We see this when he stole back his father's pocket watch after almost losing it to a cheat. Here we learn that after the death of his father, Arnaud was adopted by a man named Lassied, who is the father of Arnaud's girlfriend, Elise. Speaking of Elise, she is having a party to celebrate her initiation to some group, probably not important. But what is important is that Arnaud is completely down bad for his girl. But unfortunately, due to him being broke, he's not invited to the party, so he decides to infiltrate it. But not before delivering a letter to Lassied by leaving it at his doorstep. Probably some bills or whatever. After crashing the party and chatting it up with Elise, Arnaud heads out and sees a drunk man stumbling towards him. You know, despite the tragedy of losing his father, I'm glad Arnaud's doing well. He still has his girlfriend, a kind father figure, and despite him being broke, I'm sure he'll be able to scrape by and... shit. The drunken man is a Lassied who just got murdered, isn't it? And Arnaud is gonna be at the wrong place at the wrong time so he could get framed for it, isn't he? Well, that's exactly what happens as Arnaud gets taken to the Bastille, which was known at the time for being a really harsh prison for people who oppose the king. Fortunately for Arnaud, he meets a man there named Pierre Bellic, who at first is a bit of a bully, but quickly befriends Arnaud after he hears that Arnaud could also see the hidden writings on the walls. After spending some time together training, the Bastille gets raided as it so happens that the infamous storming of the Bastille has started to take place. After fighting their way through the guards and making it to the rooftops, both Bellic and Arnaud take a leap of faith to freedom. I think this intro is such a great way to get the player engaged. I love how we are introduced to Arnaud. His personality of being a witty and a headstrong guy echoes that of Ezio Auditore, and how players were first introduced to him. His relationship with Elise is so adorable, and based on their dialogue, you can tell that they've grown up together and have formed a deep bond. Too bad the story and by extension Arnaud goes down the drain the moment Arnaud becomes an assassin. But hey! Ubisoft does have a knack of starting strong but finishing weak. Just like me in bed. Wait. So yeah, this is a really good lead into the main game, and I would say that it's the best intro, but there's one more that stands tall above the rest.
Do I know you from somewhere? Don't you recognize me? It's me, Mario!
What can I say about Assassin's Creed 2 that hasn't already been said? It's the game that put the series on the map. The game that gave us one of, if not the most iconic character in the entire series. Gameplay that is gameplay, and perhaps one of the greatest intros of all time. At the start of this intro, we are reintroduced to Desmond Miles and are given a recap of the previous game. We also see a woman giving birth in Italy during the Renaissance. Oh, okay. After, well, that we are put into the modern day where we find Lucy, the assistant who you might recognize from the last game. She helps Desmond break out the Abstergo facility, and it's revealed that she's an assassin. After fighting their way through and escaping the facility, Desmond and Lucy arrive at a safe house and are then introduced to Sean and Rebecca. Sean is a typical snarky British man, as is custom when writing British men in the 2000s, and Rebecca's a tech woman of the group. After getting acquainted with everyone, Desmond enters the Animus and travels to Italy during the Renaissance, where we are introduced to another new character, Ezio Auditore da Firenze, a young man who was starting to fight with a rival gang. During said fight, Ezio's older brother Federico shows up to help him out, but also to tease him a bit. After the fight, Federico takes Ezio to the doctor to patch up his face, which is Ezio's only asset, which isn't me saying that to be mean. That's what Federico told the doctor.
You must help him. That pretty face is his only asset.
See? I wasn't lying. After getting patched up, the brothers began to head home, but not before having a race to the church rooftop in which, well, I'll let the clip play itself.
It is a good life we lead, brother.
The best. May it never change.
And may it never change us.
From this intro alone, it is no wonder why this is my favorite of all time. First off, the music! The track Ezio's Family composed by Jesper Kyd is the theme of Assassin's Creed. It is a somber tune setting the tone of what Ezio's story will be. Tragic. The song feels like it's mourning the eventual loss of Ezio's innocence and the night he has with his brother as it would be the last normal night he would have. Speaking of Ezio, it is no wonder why he is the face of the franchise. Roger Craig Smith was the perfect choice to portray him, as he brings out Ezio's charm and humility to the games, which made players fall in love with him. The moment we are properly introduced to Ezio, we are shown what his character arc will be: to grow up. But unfortunately, Ezio doesn't get to grow up as one would do when living a peaceful life. It's through violence, starting with the death of his father and brothers. Ezio is thrust into a journey of vengeance, being forced into a life he probably wasn't ready for, but must accept if he is to find the people responsible. The line Federico tells Ezio on the rooftop and how it's a good life they lead, Ezio responding with the best, only for Federico to respond with, and may it never change us, is so heartbreaking in hindsight. It's easy to forget, but Ezio was 17 years old when his story began. Well, technically it literally started with his birth, but babies can't be assassins unlike my kids who are trained by birth to kill.
Daddy, I've completed my mission and took out the target.
That's nice, sweetie. Go get some rest. I'll call you for your next mission.
I am forever traumatized.
In a way, Ezio's life did change, though at first it was for the worst. Eventually, with the help of his family and friends, Ezio does retain the life he once had in his old age, and dies in a way that many assassins don't get to, peacefully surrounded by the people he loves, probably remembering that one last night of peace he had on that church rooftop, excited for what the future has in store for him. And that's the list. I'm surprised I had a lot to say on this topic, especially since with how Assassin's Creed is now. It's frustrating. Recently I've been playing through Ghosts of Yote. It's a really amazing game. Probably my game of the year alongside Expedition 33. The gameplay is solid, the exploration is amazing, and the story is really awesome. However, if you look at the premise of the game, it's almost exactly the same as Assassin's Creed Shadows, minus Yasuke and the assassins. Unlike Shadows, Ghost of Yote tells a more personalized story of revenge, and Atsu slowly realizes that maybe revenge shouldn't be her only reason for fighting. Shadows tries to do that, but it's hindered by the fact that the revenge quest is pushed aside until the last third of the game because the player has to kill so many targets. It's frustrating because Ubisoft tends to bloat what could have been simple stories that get expanded upon by padding them with so much bullcrap. Doesn't help with the recent news that they canceled a game that would have been set after the American Civil War because they didn't want to deal with another controversy. And just so y'all are aware, their next game is supposed to be set during 16th century Europe, in which you play as an assassin who's hunted down due to accusations of being a witch. It's supposed to be the darkest game in the franchise, being more horror-inspired, and I bet you anything, they're gonna steer away from actually tackling why the trials are happening, and what it does to people who are either accused or the accuser, because Ubisoft are gonna want to appear as apolitical as possible. Look, I may be wrong, and if I am, I'll play through the entire Saints Row series remake included. But until then, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I wonder if my tomato soup is done.
Nothing like a good bowl of soup to make you feel like your old self again. Happy April Fool's Day, everyone!
Yep. Yep.